When in normal mode, the paths run straight from an anchor point to another. If I want the paths to be arched, I edit the anchor points with the anchor point tool. It's on the same pile with the pen tool. Anchor point tool was used to be called Convert Anchor Point tool. That's why the hotkey is Shift-C. Convert Anchor Point tool was a good name for the tool because its function is to change anchor points to different modes. Either change the anchor points so that the paths are arched or them back to the type from where the paths run straight. With the anchor point tool, you drag vector handles from the anchor points. You do this by selecting an anchor point tool and dragging with the mouse. Dragging means pressing, moving and holding. The vector handle changes the paths to be arched. The path is arched by the vector force of the handle. So the force is to the direction of the handle and as powerful as the handle is long. The longer the handle, the more force is arching the path. When dragging with the anchor point tool, I always create two handles. The one to the direction I drag and an opposite and same length handle to the other direction. Releasing the mouse button, the path is arched. I'll also drag from the next anchor point. Now I'm arching also the next path. But because the anchor point tool also drags the opposite handle, I also affected the last path. So the first path is affected by the handles from the anchor point in its both ends. Because they are both outside the form, the forces are summed. So the handles from the second point made the path even more arched. I'll drag the handles also from the next 2 points. Because I have dragged from all of the points in my form, all of them are rounded. Next I'll edit the handles. I cannot select anything with the anchor point tool. If I click on an anchor point with vector handles, the handles are removed. So if I want to make selections, I need to change the tool. I first drag new handles from this point. I can select and edit the anchor points by selecting the direct selection tool. When I click on the anchor points, I can see the handles. Normally Illustrator only shows you the active handles. With the direct selection tool, I can select an anchor point and edit its handles. I can change the direction of the handle and its length. The handles stay sticking to the opposite directions, but the lengths aren't locked anymore. If the handles from a path are both outside or inside the form, the vector forms are summed. I change the other handle to stick inside the form. Now the vector handle from the left anchor arches the path upwards and the right handle downwards. Now the path is curved and recurved. By changing both of the handles on the ends, I can change a path to be quite complex recurve. For example, an eggplant form like this only needs 4 anchor points. When doing vector illustrations, it is actually important to have as few anchor points as possible. This is how we keep the forms smooth and beautiful. The function of the anchor point tool is to convert the anchor points from corners to arched or from arched back to corners. So I cannot select an anchor point with the anchor point tool, but need to use the direct selection tool for this. If I click on the anchor points with the anchor point tool, it will remove the vector handles. And if I drag, I get the handles out again to opposite directions with equal force. If I want to change the anchor point from arch to a corner, I can drag with the anchor point tool from the vector handle. Now the link between the two handles is broken and their direction can be something else than opposites. This changes the anchor point to be a corner. When I'm happy with the new direction of the handle, I can again release the mouse button. The other handle is now removed from view, but it is still there. If I want to edit that handle, I need to select the anchor point tool once again with the white arrow. Now I can also see the handles of the left side path. Now the connection of the handles is broken. If I want the anchor point to be smooth again, I need to drag again with the anchor point tool or click the symbol on the second row. So a recap. Pen is for creating polygons. The anchor point tool is for dragging the handles out from the anchor points. With the direct selection tool, I select an anchor point, move it, or change the direction and length of the handles. The handles are still sticking to opposite directions. If I want to convert the anchor point to be a corner, I select it and with the anchor point tool drag from the other handle. If I want to remove the handles from an anchor point, I click on it with the anchor point tool.